Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with Learn Plan Profit. Hope you guys are having an absolute amazing start to your Monday. I'm a little like I don't know. I don't know if I'm a little tired or what's going on, but I feel a little different. But I'm super pumped to see all these different stocks that we were looking at. I just took a position really quickly on TNDM. It's showing signs of an uptrend. We might actually get rejected by this SMA indicator as it was acting as a potential support, on Friday as it was showing signs of an uptrend during the later hours. Now it looks like it might be acting as a potential resistance. So I'm gonna have to get my position ready to sell. Definitely something that I'm watching very closely. So I'm gonna have 100% of my position ready. I'm going to turn on my level 2 just so I have a better understanding of where people are buying and where people are selling. So there we go. We have a nice little push up. Waiting for the full break above 36.55 to 30. There we go. Nice little push up. So let's see if it could continue. Again, I'm keeping a very close eye on the bid just to see if that thing continues to push up. The ask is still staying at 36.55, 36.50 around that general area. One thing that I want to keep or take into consideration is the overall understanding that let me just turn this on real quick. Okay, there it goes. So it actually just did pull back a little bit. Obviously, we're at a resistance, so it wouldn't be the worst idea, to lock in profits. So I'm just keeping a very close eye on this. Let's see. Yeah, so there it goes, just pulled back. So the MACD trying to show signs of an overall reversal, pulled back. Let's see if it can come right back up again to the 36.50. If not, I'll just have to lock in profits and then walk away from that. So let me check this out. Let's see. How are you guys all doing this morning? Did you guys see? So I posted this little thing where I asked you guys to look at the overall direction of /NG. I don't care if you guys like trade either one of the ETFs. Just like we've been doing lately, we've been talking about how to look at a future and how that correlates on over to the correlating ETF. So a lot of you guys were able to guess it that, as natural gas was pushing up, UGAS was showing signs of an uptrend. I think that's very easy to make sense of. So we got UGAS right back to that, what is that, $90 area, which is a pretty overbought price point. Yes, it can continue to go up, but again, it is very overbought. So I wouldn't really focus on this to be like a swing trade. It would be more of a day trade in my eyes, and that's in my eyes, right? So I just want to make sure that we understand that. Let's check this out. Let's see. So I'm going to see if it pulls back a little bit more as it's been trading between the middle and top VWAP. There we go. So if people are looking at you guys right now and asking themselves like, hey, should I take a position because it's showing signs of an uptrend? One thing that I would take into consideration before taking a position, especially on the 1 day, 1 minute chart, is the MACD, how it's showing signs of it being a little bit on the overextended side. So again, the MACD and how it completes this full-on reversal, you can see that it's a little bit more on the overextended side, and same thing with the RSI. So maybe not so much of a good deal, right? I don't want to focus too much on that now. Looks like we did end up getting rejected by that general area. At least we were able to call it out, right? That 36.50 area. Let's see. So as you guys can see, I removed quite a bit of stocks off of my watch list. I just wanted to make sure that I focused a little bit more on what was actively trending up and that I got a fresh start this week. So I'm going to keep a close eye out on that. Let's see. Honestly, let's see. We have quite a bit of people calling certain things out, but nothing really showing signs of an uptrend as of right now. Is there anything that you guys are watching that's that you see that's actively trending up? If not, we can go to our pending reversal breakdowns and then we can start breaking that down. There's no issue with that. I just wanted to see what everyone else was kind of like, paying attention to this morning. So we have someone calling out NBEV. So NBEV is showing signs of a very aggressive sell-off. So yes, it does show signs of a potential recovery, but again, this isn't showing any signs of an uptrend. So the risk would be a little bit too high for me on this one, as I would have to scalp it as it's trending down. So I mean, buying the dips and then selling the peaks with that descending pattern. So not something that I would personally find too attractive as of right now. I have someone else calling. Let's see, ISNA. Okay, so it is actively trending up. Is the margin worth it? So looking based off previous patterns, we could identify, the higher points around, 4.40, and the lower points around, what is this? 4.2, yeah, 4.26 around this general area. Yeah, so definitely not a bad margin. It's showing signs of an uptrend, and it looks like the RSI and the MACD might be peaking out. So keep a close eye on this to see if it starts making lower highs. Or if it starts pulling back with the overall candles. Yeah, so as of right now, so DGAS as of right now wouldn't be a good swing trade because if you're asking like if DGAS would be a good swing trade right now with how oversold it is and the 52-week low, I get why people are making the assumption, especially on the 180-day chart or even the 1-year chart. Like, look how oversold it is, and it's due for a reversal. Looking at /NG, I get why so many people are paying so much attention to it, but again, if you're trying to predict a reversal with no confirmation, there is no judgment or direction that natural gas is going to pull back, other than it being overbought, and that normally things that are overbought tend to pull back. We have nothing when looking at DGAS that's showing us signs that it's going to recover. So I would hate for someone to take a position, right? And I've been in those shoes where you take a position as something is selling off, thinking that it's super oversold, and then it only continues to sell off because you tried to predict the reversal. I would hopefully, I just see so much more people do so much better when they wait for a confirmation, as there's much more, again, confirmation of what direction it's going to be headed. So I find that to be so much more effective. Let's see. Here we go. So we can see JNUG. So JNUG, again, getting rejected by this overall SMA indicator. Last time it hit lows of about $7, and then it reversed right back up. So something that we want to keep a close eye on. And then JDST, let's take this into consideration. Yeah, so I think someone just said it here. Let's check it out. Yeah, so I think it's Chase. So Chase is saying people in JDST be aware of lower highs. And I think that's something really important to look out for if you guys weren't already paying attention to it. Some of you guys might, some of you guys might not have. But as of right now, JDST from its peak at around $95 and this descending resistance. So what he was saying was, it's making lower highs. So right now, yes, it is pushing up. But if it starts to descend, then it would confirm this overall descending descending resistance that it's been showing, and it would make sense on why this thing can sell back off to 70, which means that maybe JDST isn't so much of a good deal as of right now. So yes, it is trying to actively trend up on the day. It looks like it just hit highs right at around $81. Just make sure that, again, you focus on getting something in for a good deal. You like the overall direction, and the margin of profit outweighs the margin of loss. I think as long as you keep that in mind, then you should be at least better off, or understand kind of like what you're getting yourself into. I like that. Okay. Oh my goodness. Look how aggressive this is. So it has a support here right around 260, right? It sold off here, picked right back up to around 310, sold off, picked right back up, sold off. Like, these are not small margins. and this is crazy because it's a multi-billion-dollar company. This is 20% that it continues to fluctuate. So I have my alert set if it breaks below 59, as that would be a break of pattern. I'm going to set my alert if it starts to reverse back up. The MACD looks good. The RSI looks good. I would just be, I mean, 20% is a lot to risk. Just again, it makes sense on why to, again, focus on overall direction and why to not approach it in a very aggressive way. But I would like to follow up with Tesla and see, you know, what direction it ends up heading at. So. Let's see. Okay, so this is a pretty good question. How many of you guys have ever encountered this? So the MACD and the RSI tell me completely different things on, for example, the 1 day, 1 minute chart it is completely different than like the 20-day, 1 hour chart. Which one should I follow as they tell the exact opposite things? Again, it depends on what your plan is with that specific either stock or ETF. If your plan is to swing trade it, then it would make sense to look at larger time frames. If your plan is to day trade it, then it would make sense to look at shorter time frames, as those are a little bit more relevant. And we have covered that before, especially in the course, right? When it comes down to talking about time frames and the indicators that follow with that. So I think still practicing, so it's going to take time for you to become a little bit more familiar with that. But yeah, just practicing a little bit more, making sure that you feel comfortable with, the swing trade indicators, the day trade indicators, and making sure that, you know, you understand which ones react better with others. There we go. So TNDM with a very aggressive sell-off right back down to that $34 support. Looks like it pushed up to about that high of around, what was that? Around that $37 price point, sold right back off. So let's look at that 1 day, 1 minute chart. Looks like it pushed up to right around $37 right during pre-market hours. Has an aggressive sell-off, so now it's very oversold. So now we're just going to set this, alert for a reversal. I think that's what's important. So I want to wait for like a pretty solid reversal. So we'll set an alert there and then simply follow up with it. So we are good. There we go. DGAS still continuing to sell off. So it would make sense on why not to predict the reversal and just follow whatever is actively trending up. And, again, focusing on a good deal, follow whatever's actively trending up and just making sure that we consistently lock in profits. You guys would, in a sense, fit that specific criteria. JDST looking like it's pulling back right now. It could 100% bounce off the bottom VWAP. So, maybe something to look out for. But it's showing signs of a little bit more on the peak formation. So you guys up 11.85%. Yep. I like that. Getting better every day. That's what it's all about. Small forms of improvement every day, long term will act as great positive catalysts. Okay, we have a couple people asking about ticker symbol Gush and Drip. So it looks like Gush is selling off right now. Might be trying to reverse back up. So as of right now, I would say that Gush is showing more signs of a pullback based on. I mean, it might have a little bit more margin to sell off to around that SMA indicator. Let's look at a little bit closer patterns. Okay. Maybe on the 20-day, 1 hour chart, we could see why it can potentially bounce around this like $38 area, right? But it's also showing signs of this like descending pattern. Do you see this? That it continues to get rejected by this EMA line. So yes, it does sell off, but as quick as it sells off, it pushes up and then gets rejected, right? So we see this pattern. So it's this descending pattern. I would view that to be a little bit of a higher risk. So I would stay away from it because I don't like necessarily that descending pattern, right? Because it's showing signs of a sell-off. So does that meet your criteria? If it does, great. If it doesn't, then guess what? The amazing thing about the stock market is you get to decide what you choose to invest in. Okay, so we have someone asking, what is it, Wojo? Howitz is asking also the MACD can show signs of a reversal when the stock is doing something else, I guess, which might be a little bit confusing. 100%. And we've talked about that multiple times that, again, you never want to solely rely on one indicator. I don't think we've ever said, like, if the MACD was always so accurate, then it would be extremely easy to trade. I think we could all agree on that, right? It would be extremely easy to identify, when's a time to buy, when's a time to sell. Yes, with some stocks and with some patterns, just like I explained in the course, indicators do react very nicely and almost accurately with certain patterns and certain stocks. With other stocks, they do not. And that's why you do your technical analysis, you identify which indicators react nicely to whatever it is that you're trading, and then you accommodate that and see if you can make sense of, is it a good trade, right? But you should still focus on the overall understanding of, are you getting a good deal? Are you getting a good deal? Is the margin of profit, like, does that outweigh the marginal loss? And does it make sense? Like, is this the best opportunity or investment that I can take right now? I think these are just a series of questions that, regardless of what the MACD is telling you, regardless of what direction the EMA line is pointing, you come to your senses and still ask yourself those general questions, regardless of what indicators are telling you, that, is this the best investment that you can make right now out of everything that you've broken down? Is this your number one stock that you'd like to focus on this week? Yeah, I do see TNDM trying to push up. So it looks like it's trying to push up. Again, watch out just for the potential resistance right around that EMA line. So that's a really nice push up. We'll see if it could continue. But it's definitely very oversold on the day. Yeah, my Robinhood account isn't working. Yeah, I'm not too sure if other people are having that issue. Let's check out LABU. So LABU, definitely very oversold. Looking at it at the 1-day, 1-minute chart, it's down 3%. So again, wouldn't really make too much sense to try to predict the reversal. I do see why it's being called out as, it's trying to show signs of an overall reversal. I would watch out for that MACD as it's still a little bit more on the overbought side. And I would wait for a pullback confirmation. So for it to push up, pull back, bounce, and then start making higher highs again. What's one thing that we talked about on Friday that will assist us in not being so aggressive in taking positions right away? What's one thing that we talked about? It's very difficult for a lot of these stocks for us to be able to identify what direction these stocks, especially for the day, if you want to focus on a day trade, what direction these stocks are going to be going. Does it make sense? If it's going to be actively trending up or if it's actively going to be trending down. Like, ETFs are a little bit easier as I can see the futures, right? But when it comes down to, what direction LABU is going, what direction and what direction it's going to be going for the rest of the day, what did we talk about? Do you guys remember? No data, right? Do you guys know what Adam means by no data, or was he the only one that was paying attention on Friday? We have quite a bit of people tuning into this live stream. I need people to participate regardless if you are correct or not. Wait for the confirmation. So why is it? So again, I'm just going to ask you guys then an open-ended question. So right now, DGAS within the first 25 minutes of the market open, it's showing signs, TNDM is showing signs of a sell-off. So it's in between the middle and bottom view up, right? So its direction is trending down. Would I have been able to identify that right as the market opened? No, right? Because I have no data to go off of that's telling me, right, that it's trending down, other than pre-market hours. But again, pre-market hours are never or are not always super accurate, as the volatility is a little bit higher, right? So one thing that we can be a little bit more selective and patient with is understanding the direction that these series of stocks are headed for the day. And the only way that we can do that is if we give ourselves time to let the stock itself, identify its direction for the day. So yes, that means that maybe not taking a position for the first 1 to 2 hours of the market open until you identify, okay, TNDM is selling off, so thankfully I didn't take a position, and it's selling off for the rest of the day, right? Or with something like JNUG, okay, well, I thought it was going to, reverse because it was super oversold, but all it's doing is consolidating and it's not pointing up. So maybe it's not a good investment for the day, right? Again, being extremely selective. Yes, DGAS, again, I confirmed that it was selling off during pre-market hours. So it's easier to identify that, yes, it was going to sell off continuously for the rest of the day. So again, maybe not the best investment that I want to take advantage of. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to all of us? Like, for all of those that are so aggressive to take a position, and trust me, I've been there, I've done that. When it comes down to take a position right away as the market opened due to volatility and due to FOMO and the fear of missing out and what's actively trending up right now, we're so quick to pull the trigger, right? How many of us would be in a much better situation if we were not so aggressively focused on taking a position right away? Okay. So this is just a test for this week. How about that? I feel like a lot of us in the very beginning are taking positions without understanding. We're trying to predict what direction it's going to be headed for the day, and it might not be working out for everybody. So if we can test out this week, and it's up to you, right? You don't have to do this. You can try to implement it if it makes sense to you and you would see value in it, but to be extremely selective. And yes, sometimes you will miss out on opportunities in the very beginning, as some do aggressively push up during the first couple of minutes, right? But it's for the greater good. So you don't discourage yourself, and every time you take a position, you understand what you're doing, right? To focus on this week, to let the stocks that you're focusing on and that you're watching and you see value in, to identify their direction for the day. And after they identify their direction, you ask yourself 3 questions. Do I understand the direction that it's headed for the day? Is the margin of profit left that it has to cover for that day worth it? And then the last thing is, is it a good deal? Like, is it something that I would still want to buy regardless of the time of day, right? Let's see. All right, I'm trying to read you guys' messages as it goes through. Let's see. What would Ricky do? You crack me up, Steven. Okay. I already know which one this one is. Yeah. And okay, you have a lot of people talking about ticker symbol IGC because of the aggressive push up that it has going on in the day. What would be, other than this one obviously showing tendencies of a pump and dump, right, and manipulation, what would be a reason on why maybe I wouldn't be so motivated to even day trade it, especially where it's at right now? Why? Why would I probably not want to trade this? Other than it being super overbought, a descending pattern, right? Showing signs of a pump and dump on the big picture. Overextended risk is much greater than the profit margin. I like that, no margin left. It's just asking yourself, forget about how much margin it's covered. Forget about all that. Forget about all the hype, what everyone is trying to sell you on why this is the best investment that you can make for 2018 and whatever it's being pushed through on stock to. It's yes, you can scalp it as a day trade, but the risk is so much higher trading these specific stocks, especially if you're having trouble identifying entry and exit points of having a plan. When are you going to lock in profits, especially when something has covered such a huge margin, over 38%? And since the market has opened, it's covered about 17%. So that's still a huge amount, but it's so overbought. it would have made sense of this thing as much as it went up, it could have gone down. It's just please understand, and every time that you take a position moving forward, just ask yourself, like, are you investing in something that is being manipulated? And if so, is it really, really worth the risk? Because yes, just as quick as you can make that money, you could lose it just as quick. And you could discourage yourself to ever invest in the stock market again. And I think that's much more important in my eyes, to not discourage yourself. So we're getting a lot of consolidation here on ticker symbol JNUG. So I'm going to keep an eye on /GC to see if you guys see this consolidation. Okay, so ticker symbol CL was very oversold. It's showing signs of a potential reversal. I personally don't like this pattern, and I'm not going to trade it, but I just kept my eyes on it due to someone calling it out. It's still trending below the EMA line, so there's no confirmation of a reversal. It's just kind of like, if we were talking about the 3 stages of a reversal, it kind of looks like it's in the consolidation phase, even in the very early stage of the consolidation phase. So I wouldn't be too, anxious to pull the trigger on this whatsoever. Okay. So, where is it? Someone just asked me about Apple. My goodness, am I blind? Oh, there we go. Mason. Apple, right, showing signs of an ascending uptrend pattern. A little bit on the oversold side. So again, 3 stages in a reversal. What stage would this be in? Is it in the rejection phase, consolidation, or confirmation? Right? What stage is it in? Consolidation. It makes sense, right? It's either in the rejection, right, or consolidation phase, in between that. Definitely not confirming an uptrend. So even with Apple, again, if we're focusing on being extremely selective with what we choose to invest in, of course, Apple being a multi-billion-dollar company, right? I think it's $1 trillion company now, right? If I'm not mistaken. But again, focusing on overall confirmation, so focusing on a good deal, whatever's actively trending up, and overall direction. I like the direction, big picture, right? I like the potential deal, but there's no confirmation just yet. So just one small little factor that we might need to wait out on, right? However it is that you want to approach it, if you want to wait for a full-on confirmation before you take your initial position, or if you want to risk it to get the biscuit and take a small position now and then add more to your position later, whatever your experience is, if you've seen that, maybe taking a first initial position before the confirmation didn't work in your favor last time, then maybe let's try something a little bit different, right? Test out and practice, not with, 100 shares of Apple. Literally just test it out with either one or paper trade, right? To test out if this is something that would work for you. I think that's what's really important. JNUG pushing up, I like it. So it looks like it's reaching a support. I like it. I think JNUG might be an interesting one to watch out for maybe the day. So do you guys see this? How it's making like higher highs and lower highs on the day? I think this is going to be very interesting to watch for today. I'm pretty pumped. And here we go, TNDM with a lot of consolidation. Just as much as it could go up, it could go down. So let's take that into consideration. Risk it to get the biscuit. Yeah, I try to make like funny jokes, and I guess it's not that funny. So let's answer this. I love this question, first of all, Mick. So like when you say add more to your position, how do you know when to add more if you're having trouble confirming a reversal? Okay, so like let's say TNDM. right? TNDM right now before it's over our reversal. So it's not confirming an uptrend. It's kind of just consolidating. But let's say I think it's going to go up to $37, right? Based off previous patterns for day trade. And I want to risk it to get the biscuit. Again, no confirmation. So this is a form of risk that I'm taking. What is it that, okay, I take my initial position. So let's say I take a 33% position. So I take about a $10,000 position since I normally trade max with $30,000. I take a $10,000 position, right? When would it make sense? And if you can help me out with this one also, Mick and everyone else, when would it make sense to add more to my position for TNDM? The reason that I'm taking my initial position and it's only 33% is yes, because I want to make sure that I try to maximize, let's say, dollar value, but there's a form of risk with that. So the reason that I take that smaller position is because in case it pulls back or it breaks its pattern, I can cut losses and the overall margin of loss or opportunity cost isn't that great, right? I mean, it's not as high because my position size is much smaller. So the moment that the uptrend is confirmed and it's above the EMA line, the easiest way to put it is I will add more to my position. Doesn't this make sense? And this is like the funny part. So many people are so focused on sometimes averaging down to bring their average price down, so it looks like they're not down so much, but they're continuing to fuel an investment that is only losing them money. Think about that. Doesn't it make more sense to invest as something is progressively moving up, right? So as it continues to break a resistance, you maybe then add to your position, or when it breaks above its resistance and then pulls back and then starts to show signs of a recovery, right, on the pullback confirmation. So it continues to make higher highs and higher lows as well, and it's on that higher low that you take your initial your next position and you add more, right? And then it makes another high and then it pulls back and then it starts to recover. I add more, right? You continue to add more to your position as it continues to confirm an uptrend. It kind of makes sense, right? So like let's put into something that maybe a little bit more of us can relate to. When it comes down to the real estate bubble and the crash in 2008, huge sell-off, right? We didn't know if it was going to continue to sell off. I'm sure some investors right away bought into real estate, and then all of a sudden people start to identify, wow, in 2010, 2011, the house prices are starting to come back up. I'm going to buy a couple more properties, right? Okay, now in 2012, 2013, prices are going back up. I'm going to add more to my position, right? I'm going to add more properties to my portfolio, right? And then, years down the road, then again, I'm going to add more properties, even when it's overbought, right? I can add more. Margin of profit is less, risk is a little bit higher, and then I can start selling off either at the peak where I think the peak might be, or as it sells off, and whatever it is that you would feel comfortable. Does that make sense that you add to your position as it continues to confirm an uptrend? So every time that I add to it, it starts to turn around and goes red. Then maybe the opportunity cost that you presented, right? That you were too quick to identify the confirmation. So like TNDM was not a good example of overall reversal because this thing is heading down on the day, right? But for something that's actively trending up, so like let's say something like with JNUG, right? That's trying to recover and trying to make higher highs and get rejected here. You have to ask yourself understand and identify where the next resistance is going to be, and ask yourself, is the margin of profit worth it to add more to your position at that specific price point? You still have to be aware of where your ideal exit point is. So if you're adding to your position and it's right where you're going to sell, then that wouldn't really make much sense. The opportunity cost isn't worth it. So I think maybe just working a little bit more on becoming more aware of where your exit is and making sure that you're working towards getting to that point and then fully locking in profits. And again, you can test this out with simulation trading and see, removing all emotions, if it's something that works well for you. But again, the pattern has to play out according to plan. It's not with every stock that it's going to work. Because again, just like you said, some stocks might be already so overbought that yes, it is pushing up, but as soon as you add to your position, it sells off because it was so overbought. So you still need to focus on the very basics of getting in for a good deal, that it's actively trending up, and that the margin of profit outweighs the margin of loss. Those are all basic things that we still need to focus on. But on top of that, this is just a way that we could kind of like accommodate our risk and not initially going with such a large position. So Mason, so you're saying that sometimes you may miss the main push. Yeah, 100%. I feel that a lot of people might fall into that category, that you might be a little bit late to that wave, right? And you catch almost like the what is it, the higher part of that wave. Again, it's all about refining yourself. So if you identify that, hey, like, I'm getting in a little bit too late, right? But it's, let's say you're still locking in profits, you're still consistently staying green, right? And you just see that maybe I'm getting in at too much of a later time, then trying to slowly refine that style, or that quality that you have as a trader, not aggressively just trying to buy the dips right away, because that's not necessarily going to work for you right away, right? But one thing that you can do is slowly try to say, okay, well, I'm going to just buy one share and just see if I'm a little bit more aggressive with this, like, to buy in a little bit, like right after the reversal, if this works well for me, right? And slowly start to refine yourself as a trader. You have nothing but time, right, to continue to refine yourself. So if you identify an opportunity where you can do a little bit better, then to slowly refine. And this is something that we could all do with how we're doing on the day to day. There's certain things that, the thing that I'm working on, so I'll admit, the thing that I'm working on slowly but surely is I'm trying to work on my, like, locking in profits too early. Does that make sense? I feel like sometimes, first of all, I get in sometimes a little bit too early before the confirmation, and it still continues to sell off. So I try to get a good deal, and sometimes, it sells off a little bit more before it begins to recover. But I tend to do pretty fine with, still it reversing and recovering. But I could have done much better in being a little bit more selective. Area of opportunity, right? And another area of opportunity is making sure that, or something that I can refine in my style of trading, is to maybe be a little bit more patient when it comes down to locking in profits. Maybe selling like 50 or 75% of my position where I would think to sell it, and then if it continues to go up, just to slowly refine myself as a trader and become more comfortable with it, so ease myself into it, then hold the remaining 25% for the extra margin that it might have to offer. Not because of the dollar value, but what, like, the overall indication of, like, okay, well, if I just wait for the 25%, what indicators or what pattern could I have looked at to identify that it still had more margin to sell off while still having a little bit of skin on the game, right? Does that make sense? Tanda. Tanda, if your TOS with paper trading is delayed 20 minutes, I hope you know that you could call TD Ameritrade and get real-time quotes even with your simulation trading platform. I want to make sure that you know that. Okay, so it looks like we received that pullback confirmation. We'll see if it starts making higher highs. Again, not to be so selective and jumping the gun on this one. Do you guys see this? The ascending uptrend pattern. Again, we still want to be patient. The resistance here is still right around the SMA indicator, and that necessarily wouldn't necessarily be worth as a day trade for a lot of people. So I want to see if we get a full-on reversal. So I like /GC and the potential recovery that it's showing. But again, it's been showing signs of a descending pattern, all morning. So that's something that, again, we don't want to necessarily try to predict the full-on reversal, as it might not be fully reversing. So just something to take into consideration. So why does /GC continue to rise so drastically? Would this be considered a break of pattern? No, I mean, that's what we're talking about. Like, so many people, like, when they see /NG actively trending up, and then they see UGAS, obviously, so DGAS should be actively descending, right? As UGAS, just like we said in the very beginning of this live stream, right? So many people are so focused on trying to predict a reversal right away that, if you think UGAS is super overbought, fine, don't trade UGAS or DGAS, but don't try to, like, be so quick to then pull the trigger on DGAS when UGAS is obviously actively trending up on the day, right? If UGAS is actively trending up, then understand that, kind of go with the flow and understand that, yes, it might be overbought, so maybe be quicker to lock in profits, right? at any sign of indication of break of pattern. But don't try to predict the reversal and get in way too early on DGAS while UGAS is still progressively moving up. Well, that was weird. I had a really nice push up and then it pulled right back down. All right. Yeah, I think I need to take some medicine. I'm actually really not feeling good. I don't know if it's the lack of sleep this morning. Wow. Here we go. Nice little push up. I'm really excited for today. I don't know why, but I know I took my initial position on TNDM. I didn't feel like my position was too big, right? And I'm just really excited to see how today plays out. It looks like we have a lot of stocks that are very oversold that are trying to identify a change in direction. And I'm just really excited to implement, what we've been talking about all week of being extremely selective with, what direction it's headed for the day and then kind of just go with the flow with that. So yeah, I'm pumped. TNDM with a nice push up. Ooh. There we go. /SI, so USLV, right? Oh, USLV is selling off, trying to identify a reversal. Wouldn't be too focused on this in /CL. Aggressively pushing up. Wow, so if this is pushing up, then that means that Gus should have tried to reverse. Yep. Due for a pullback though. Look at that resistance last time. So, oh, bonehead, we can't be writing that stuff. Oh. There we go, aggressively selling off. I don't know why. Oh my goodness, I wasn't even paying attention. Why I have DGAS in my watch list. Like the reversal with that. TNDM showing and trying to show signs of a reversal. That's pretty sweet. Okay. And then I'm going to do a breakdown on my pending reversal watch list. And then I'll follow up with whatever I see actively trending up. So. Yeah, Ricky's getting old. He needs to start sleeping more. Honestly, it's something that I need to pay a little bit more attention to. Okay, come here, let's check this out. Okay, yeah, I would say even on the 180-day chart, I mean, we've been able to identify that it's been still getting rejected and stuff like that. So 100% there is no full-on confirmation that it's like reversing it in any way. I'm just trying to see if it would be worth like a day trade or something of that sort. So no, you're good, man. I just want to make sure that we keep it clean for everyone in the chat, but I appreciate it. Thank you. We have digital head that's pretty pumped on UGAS. Again, UGAS showing signs of a potential peak formation and break of pattern, something that we might want to take into consideration. I wouldn't be so quick to pull the gun again. It's not progressively making lower lows right now, so let's focus on understanding its overall direction. All right. I know it was a pretty slow morning today when it comes down to our trades. I really hope that it can pick up later throughout the day, and I could keep you guys up to date with our overall positions. But if not, again, if you don't see anything playing according to your plan or really showing signs of an uptrend that's continuously progressively moving up, and that the margin of profit is worth it, don't stress it. We have all week to hit your 1 to 3% goal, right? Growth goal, because that's what we're focused on, growth. We're not chasing the dollar value, it's growth and understanding how we're going to get that growth, right? So Oh, Lucy, please don't get in trouble. Um, but yeah, now we can see that you guys is selling off a little bit. So let's just make sure that we keep a close eye on this and see if its direction changes throughout the day or if it just bounces off the middle view up and then continues to trade. But let's check this out. Okay, very aggressive uptrend pattern. I like that. It's just a little bit more on the overbought side, so it would make sense on why this would only be a day trade. So we just want to ask ourselves, do we understand the way that it's trading? Is it a good day trade, and is the margin worth it? The risk slash reward. So I'm super happy to hear that you were able to find one that makes sense for you. Well, for a day trade, I would focus a little bit more. So I'm just gonna answer maybe like one or two questions, and then I'm gonna end it with that. The question was, Ricky, like how many time frames would you look into before taking your day trade? I would try to become, so if you're taking a day trade, yes, it's important to understand maybe the 1 day, 1 minute chart and the direction that it's headed. But if you wanted to maybe then collect and analyze a little bit more data, maybe looking at the 3 day chart or the 5 day chart, just to become a little bit more familiar on how it's been trending, to see if there's any indication of a support or a resistance that you can, become aware of and you can learn from that might assist you in that specific day trade. So again, just analyzing more data or more patterns. You don't want to overwhelm yourself with too much information, and you just want to keep it very simple. Like, is it a good deal? Is it actively trending up? And does it make sense that it could cover this margin that I would originally see value in? Because yes, on the 1 day, 1 minute chart, you might think that it could hit a certain resistance, but then if there's a descending resistance on the SMA line and you see that on the 5 day, 5 minute chart, then you would have only been able to identify that if the 5 day, 5 minute chart popped up and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you again for the question. I really do appreciate it. So I'm going to call it a day for today's stream team. I think I'm just going to catch up on a quick little nap, maybe 30 minutes, and then I'll be right back to it when it comes down to trading. So I really do appreciate your guys' time and tuning in to this live stream. Looks like TNDM is pulling back just a little bit right now. So pullback confirmation, maybe. If not, it might continue to sell off. So let's see if it gets a pullback confirmation. I'm going to set my alert back up. Yeah, it looks like the MACD is actually descending, so not too sure about that pullback confirmation, but we'll follow up with it, and we'll kind of go from there. If you guys have any questions along the way, especially for those that have already completed the course, feel free to reach out to us. You can direct message me within the Learn Plan Profit Discord chat. Just make sure if you can do me the biggest favor and just keep it under 150 characters, and that would be great. So hope you guys all have an amazing Monday, and like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.